In this video, I'm going to show you how to do 9 different in-camera video transitions. So let's get into it. So before we actually start going through the list of all of these different transitions, I first just want to basically explain the concept and how we set up these transitions. So structurally, they all work exactly the same. We've got one shot, we've got another shot, and in the middle between those two shots is our transition. And what initiates that transition is either a camera move, something moving in front of the lens, or something happening to the camera. So basically it happens at the end of the first shot and the start of the second shot. So we've got our first shot, it's playing, something happens, we cut, and then we start filming again, something happens, and then we go into the second shot. And that's the basic framework for all of these transitions. So with that said, let's get into transition 1. Transition 1 is a whip pan. And a whip pan, you've probably seen it, it's really simple. Filming, and then we're just going to whip in one direction at the end. Cut, go to the other direction. So pretend we're doing a 360, so if we went this way, cut, move the camera around, start here, start rolling, pull the camera around, and then that is our second shot. So we whip out of the first shot, and then we whip into the second shot, and make sure you're traveling that same direction. Transition 2 is the rotation transition, and this works exactly the same as the whip pan, but instead of whipping, we're rotating. So at the end of the first shot, we're just going to spin 180 degrees upside down. And then you want to continue that movement into the second shot. So we'll start rolling the second shot and whip it in. That is shot number 2. Of course, as well, it's worth noting before we carry on, you want to make sure that something has changed between shots. Because if this was the first shot, we do the transition and then we come back into this same shot, the lighting's the same, the shot is the same, there was no point of doing the transition. So make sure the location has changed, the lighting has changed, somebody's outfit has changed. Make sure there is a reason why we are actually doing this transition. Anyway, transition number 3. Transition number 3 is a mixture of 1 and 2. So it's a mixture of a whip pan and rotation. So rather than whipping to the right, we're going to rotate up and around. So essentially we're doing a rotation, but we're whipping up. So at the end of the first shot, whip up. And you want to go a bit further than 90, so you want to aim towards a complete 180 degrees backwards. So filming, whip up and around, and this needs to be quite quick to activate the motion blur. Then we'll cut, start of the second shot, we're upside down, and then we come into the shot. And you want to complete that movement, so you want to arc down. So we're going to arc down and then back into the shot. And you can add a little bit of reverb at the end just to sell that effect and really tie everything together. Transition number 4 is going to use a covered screen to complete the transition. So at the end of the first shot, we want to cover the lens. Now you can do this with the old school vlogging method of putting your hand in front of the lens, or alternatively, you can just put something in the way of the lens. It's completely up to you, but you just want the lens to be covered. You don't want your fingers spread, and you don't want to be next to an object which is slightly away from the object. You want to be completely covered. We'll make the cut, start the second shot covered, and then go into the next shot. So you basically cut when the screen goes black, cut these two together, great transition. Transition number 5 is a slide past the foreground. So again, you want to make sure you're following the same direction. So just like the whip pan, we whipped to the right and then came in from the right. We want to do the exact same thing with the slide. So let's pretend this is a wall. At the end of this shot, we're just going to be rolling. We're going to slide the camera across and go behind this object. And you want to get quite close to this object. And then we'll cut. Let's say this is a different wall, different location. We're going to start over here. And then we're going to travel that same direction. So we're traveling over this way to reveal our second shot. So we're going behind the object, cutting, going to a new object, sliding out, and you stitch those two shots together. And this works like the shot before where you make the cut when the screen is covered. It's really important with this one that you are very close to that object, because if you're even just 10, 20 centimeters away, you're definitely going to be able to see that the screen is not covered. And when you cut these together, there's going to be quite a jar in the cut. Transition 6 is a really simple, but slightly aggressive earthquake transition. So at the end of the first shot, we're just going to aggressively shake the camera. We can shake it up and down, we can shake it left to right, or we can go in any direction we like. But the whole point of this is to create an earthquake. So you can do a subtle build up into it, or you could just go straight in for the effects. So Generally, I like to have a little bit of a wobble and then we go for the full transition, just to warm up into it. So slight wobble, aggressive, cut. Then we're just going to start the second shot with the wobble and then we slow back down into the action. And again, when there's the motion blur in the frame, we make the cut between those two clips. And that is that transition. Transition number 7 is the pull through the screen. So in order to do this, you want to, first of all, film a video. Now, this video could be absolutely anything. This doesn't have to be transition dependent. This could just be any random clip. But once you've got that clip, you want to load it up onto a computer, a phone, a tablet, whatever it is, you want to play it on a screen. Then we'll grab our camera, start recording, and put the camera close to this computer screen so that the video fills the monitor on the camera. So, as you can see, I have got a screen here. I would frame this up with this camera, and then 3, 2, 1, action, I would just pull back. So we're starting on the screen, and then essentially to cut this together, just before the camera pulls, you cut into this shot from the previous shot, make sure it frames up the same. You might have to do a bit of tweaking in the edit, but once that lines up, that should be a great transition. Transition number 8 requires a prism. And if you weren't sure what a prism is, it's this. These prisms can come in many different shapes and sizes. This one is from Cinepacks, really awesome company. But essentially this is just a glass with a few different cuts and a few different shapes built into this. And in order to do this transition, we're just going to treat this like the slide past the foreground. But instead of moving the camera to the prism, we'll move the prism to the camera. So we'll just get this very close to the lens, and then we'll just move this past the lens. Make sure you get that really cool layer of distortion, and then we'll cut. And then we'll do the same thing at the start of the second shot, move the prism past the lens in that same direction, and then you merge those two clips together to create a really awesome prism transition. And then of course, transition number 9 is the up and down, or the sky and back. So we're going to start the camera, we're going to start filming, we'll go up to the sky and then cut. Now it's really important with this one that the sky is the exact same in shot 1 and shot 2. Because if I went up to a blue sky, completely clear, really nice sunny day, and then I cut to a shot where it was really cloudy, all of a sudden those clouds are going to appear out of nowhere and it doesn't look great. So make sure if you're filming on a cloudy day, make sure the second shot is also cloudy. If you're filming on a sunny day, make sure the second shot is also sunny. That's the best way to hide this transition. So we'll go up to the sky and then we'll come back down, and that's going to be transition number 9. Now to make life easy for yourself, with this transition, it's worth going up and back down at the end of the first shot, and then do that same movement on the second shot. So at the start of the second shot, we're pointing forward, tilt up, tilt back down, and that's our transition. Now, if the sky cut doesn't work, so if you can't cut on the sky, you can either cut going up or you can cut going back down where there's motion blur in the frame. Generally, if the camera is moving in any of these transitions, we're using the point where the most amount of motion blur is in the frame to hide the cut. And there you go. That is all 9 in-camera video transitions. Now, if this was way too quick for you, or you have a few questions, or you want to know how to create even more transitions, then go ahead and check out my in-camera video transitions course on Skillshare. That is a half-an-hour course dedicated to teaching you how to create these really awesome in-camera transitions. I go at a much slower pace, and there is a video per transition rather than one big video for 9 transitions. So each transition gets its own spotlight. The reviews for that course have been really good so far. So if you do want to learn more about in-camera transitions, then go ahead and click the link in the description below to take you to that Skillshare transitions course. But anyway, there you go. Thank you ever so much for watching this course. I really do appreciate your support, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. See you there.